Lyudmila shows the coat her nephew was wearing during the Maidan revolution. Aside from the clothing, there are bars and a red and black scarf in his room. After the war in the Donbass began, Oleksandr, who is now a political prisoner in Russia, worked in the military prosecutor's office in the Kherson region.
In the evening, someone called him, just as it happened usually. It was around 10 in the evening. He put on his shorts, sneakers and a t-shirt, and that was it. He disappeared.
That happened in August 2017. A month later, Oleksandr was found in a pretrial detention center in Russia. Nobody knew how he'd got there.
All I know is that he had a meeting with an informant, a source for the investigation. And then he was transported to the territory of Russia against his will, unconscious.
Oleksandr Shumkov has been sentenced to 4 years in prison. Russian authorities have accused him of being a part of the Right Sector, an organization that the Russian authorities classify as extremist. Now, Oleksandr is being held in a penal colony in the town of Torzhok in the Tver region. Last time his relatives saw him was last winter.
He always says that his health is more or less okay. He is more worried about the guys that are held there with him. It's mostly Russians who are sentenced for their religious beliefs.
But what worries him the most is the situation in Ukraine.
I want to send a message not to lose faith, that everything will get better, and I urge them to be active.
Over the span of his 2.5 years in prison, Oleksandr went on a hunger strike 3 times. Last time, he ended up in the hospital.
He suffers from sporadic headaches. It happens more often, and every time it gets worse. He was administered injections of an unknown medication. That worried us a lot, because his psychological state was altered.
Oleksandr is also being constantly taunted.
Once they filed 3 reports against him because he was exercising and doing push-ups in his cell. Recently they brought him back from the hospital to the cell and immediately sent him to a disciplinary cell for 14 days. He was held in a high-security cell for 2 days. Now he is back in his cell until December the 28th.
Oleksandr keeps writing letters to his relatives as often as possible.
Over these years, I started to think somewhat differently and feel the support of the people. Let's face it, my convictions have strengthened. I became smarter. I feel like things are going to be complicated in Ukraine for a few more years, but they are following the charge of our country towards progress. Please forgive me for all the things I have not done for you.
Oleksandr is his family's only son, nephew, and grandson.
This is important, even for his grandma and grandpa. They live from letter to letter and reread them several times. They have not seen him since August 2017.
Oleksandr's family cannot stop looking through his photos.
This is when he served in the army in the Zhytomyr region. Oleksandr Shumkov's sentence ends in a year, in December 2020, but his relatives hope that he could be exchanged earlier. Reported by Olga Volynets for UATV.